feel like I've got no words what's going on in the YouTube community right now. But I'm going to share some thoughts in my handy dandy journal here. Just because I honestly, the things I say can't be said any better. I honestly, I'm just going to put my input here. So, I made a video before talking about being at home and being able to be okay with being okay and like internalize and be okay with feeling and suffering and how they're two sides of the same coin, you know, suffering and happiness. They're important, not to lose touch with yourself. I'm beyond shocked. I mean, look at me. Look at me right now. I'm only beginning to realize the importance of anything, of lessons in life, of communicating well. So, I don't know, what can I share? I kind of want to share the 6 mantras in here that come from vulnerability, that come from sharing. So, I'm going to share that. I have no words. It takes a lot of practice to turn the truth in a way that the other person wants to hear it or can understand it. And that's part of being vulnerable. It's not the easiest thing. Extremely difficult to do that. The first mantra of loving speech it talks about in this book, of vulnerable speech, of honest, true, authentic speech, is I am here for you. That's the first one. Presence, whether virtual or online or in the present moment, is really the greatest gift you can give somebody. And to abuse that, to use wrong speech and abuse, it's the worst thing you can do. Love is to be there, to be present, to listen deeply. That's what it is. The second one is I know you are there and I'm happy. Presence is vital to happiness and happiness. Mantras only come as a success if you actually have mindfulness when you say it. Number 3 is I know you suffer, and that is why I am here for you. I know I want to listen. True love is made of mindfulness, being present with people, seeing them in their whole self as much as possible, even though you can't understand truly, authentically who they are, because they're sharing somebody with you. But that's seeing them complexly as best as possible. That's mindfulness, presence. The fourth one, hardest for me, I think, is I suffer, please help. That's the fourth one. It's difficult to say that to close people, or to people that have hurt you, or asking for help, sharing things. That's difficult. Extremely difficult to do. And the people that have been abused and have been hurt need all the support they can get, whether virtual or in person. And that's just what we have seen so far. And without finding compassion for other people, I mean, this book tells us to never name a human being as the enemy, as much as we want to. We want to punish, we want to blame. The people that suffer on the inside, that don't know how to handle it, cause other people to suffer. It's the honest truth. People that aren't at home with themselves think to get out and to handle it, they have to make other people feel the same. I suffer, I want you to know, I don't understand, please explain, I need your help. That's part of mantra 4. Mantra 5 is, this is a happy moment. This moment right now, there's more happiness in the present moment available to us for us to choose than we think. But we can get misperceptions and it's just, you can't fathom it. You can't understand it. The complexity is so immense and so wrong, and you don't want to understand it. It's crazy. There are countless conditions of happiness in the here and now, and the past, and living in the past and living in the worry of the future can stop us from realizing that. Mindfulness makes the present moment into a wonderful moment. But it's the most difficult task. It's hard. And then number 6, one of my favorite ones, when somebody criticizes me or when somebody says something mean. Number 6 is, you are partly right. It ignores the black and white analogy, and it basically takes us from the position of thinking that we're all wrong or all perfect, but we're not. We all have weaknesses, we all have strengths. You retain humility. There's no victim of prideful illusion. You're not a victim of some misperception. And it's a scary thing to say, but we're all human. We're all facing the self-leadership story. We're all dealing with hardships and triumphs, mountains and valleys. We can lose sight of that. Somebody's really scared, really frightened, really not at home with themselves. They do scary and stupid things. And misperceptions can lock us in and prevent us from seeing the big picture and making sure we know what influence we have on other people. And that is a 75-degree hill to climb. People don't see me in my totality. They don't see my entire self. Now, this is a rare exception, because I may just upload this as one take, but people don't see your whole being. They don't. It's impossible. No one will truly know everything I know about myself in its entirety. Because when you share something with somebody, you can only share so much of yourself. You can't share your whole being. You can't. It's impossible. That's why sharing yourself is the scariest thing. Sharing what you've created. Mindfulness, concentration, and practice, saying with love and full presence, mindfully communicating, is difficult. It takes a certain commitment to seeing things in its entirety in a certain way, and having a little bit of doubt, having humility, generosity, compassion. It's just hard. It's so easy to go to anger and to be angry, but vulnerability is so crucial. I've made videos on this before. Vulnerability and curiosity butt heads with each other. You want to be curious. You want to ask and learn and grow and help. But you don't want to be vulnerable when you do it. But that's required. To be vulnerable, you have to be curious. And to be curious, you can't help but be vulnerable. Depends on what you're being curious about, but it's so easy to get hold of a wrong perception or have some habitual response to something without thinking about the deepest values that relate to it. Why do we value it in the first place? Why are we pointing to the nature of it? It's just crazy. People that get really close to us, they can cause painful rifts if we don't communicate well. Loving compassion, deep listening, most powerful to restore communication. Can we focus on trying to understand each other using compassionate speech and deep listening no matter what the outcome, no matter what happens? That should be the foundation. Change yourself first, master yourself, and handle situations in a loving way. That's why being at home is so important. I can see the importance of trying to impact other people and inspire other people. But you have to inspire a change in other people to change themselves. And that's It's immensely difficult. So, going about this in anger is not the right path, in my opinion. How I feel and see it. We have to generally touch anger to heal it. Grow understanding, go home, go back to mindful breathing and walking and being present and not being caught in our heads, living upstairs too much. You know? A good analogy in this book is you can't chase the arsonist while your house is on fire. Because then you're doing more harm than you should be. You gotta be at home with yourself. You have to understand yourself to understand the suffering of other people. And that's not always the easiest thing, because we don't have all the same experiences, but you have to get help from other people to sometimes penetrate sorrow. This book, it says, sorrow is often deeply rooted, and we need others to penetrate it, even though we diligently practice having an open heart. Sometimes we need other people and groups of people to penetrate and see through us to the real people we are, because we often forget that. We forget what we stand for, what we value, because we get so caught up in other stuff. Listen with a free heart and everyone with equal interest and concern, compassion. And the last thing I'll leave you with here, what a great book. Listen to your inner child. We have to water each other. We have to water each other with compassion and ideas and positive thoughts and appreciation and gratitude. Water your flowers, like your garden, but they're your relationships. It's just a bunch of stuff in here that's really cool. When we do anything we create, that is our continuation. It ripples out into the cosmos, whatever we do. It's a bank account for communicating. It has a non-local nature. You know, it doesn't go somewhere and then end. It keeps going. There's a kid looking at the sunset right now on a bike. There's some mindfulness for you right there. Just a bike. Kid on a bike. The rocks of our suffering are best handled, lightened, and carried in the boat of mindfulness. Our ability to, and other people help us carry them. But the ability to be at home with yourself and to handle it well and to get support from people. Don't be an empty, hungry ghost with an empty stomach where you're very hungry but you have a very tiny throat. You're not willing to take in support. So, this is my value for the world of people that need it. Need a moment to breathe. Just take 3 long 8-second breaths and live right now. And don't live upstairs all the time. Dangerous place to live your whole life. Because you start to get caught in misperceptions and just give yourself a little bell of mindfulness. A moment you can just click a bell, hear a noise, and just breathe and walk. Do things for the sake of doing them. Don't exaggerate, be consistent, and use peaceful language and have truthful content. Yeah. That's my value for you guys. With all this quizzical nonsense going on. This is great. It's not nonsense, it's important, but it's just wrong. Okay, maybe I'll edit this down a tiny bit, it's kind of long. You get the true image of mindfulness and presence when you have a full video with thoughts instead of editing stuff down ridiculously. As always, keep creating an awesome you. We're all human. We'll make mistakes. Don't forget to be awesome. It's not a great saying because it's easy. It's because it requires constant vigilance. It's hard. And remember to choose to be vulnerable on purpose. Not in a way of being manipulated, but in a way of being honest and authentic and true. Okay. Sun has set it.